My name is Christian Bishop, and I am one of the newest board members.
And I'm John Hund, a longtime native of Wabaunsee County, 150-year heritage, and I'm vice president. Well, it's a park, and it is accessible to the public during daylight hours, and it is close to the city of Wamego. And it is on land that was owned by Captain William Mitchell, who was one of the original Prairie Guards, who was part of a Connecticut contingent that was at the time called the Beecher Bible and Rifle Colony. And these were Connecticut residents who worked with a very charismatic preacher named Ward Beecher, who happened to be Harriet Beecher Stowe's brother. And he was pastor of Christ Church in what is now Brooklyn, which Abraham Lincoln attended that church from time to time when he was in town. Well, the abolitionist movement was gaining a lot of momentum in the run-up to the Civil War. And in the mid to late 1850s, the Kansas-Nebraska Act came into play. Without the Kansas-Nebraska Act and it being defeated, or it being utilized to the point where Kansas and Nebraska could have been part of the Confederate States, this story may have not happened. So a group of mostly well-educated, 65 I think in the original colony, armed themselves with Sharps rifles that was the most modern weapon of the time, and packed up their belongings and moved to Kansas. At the time, Kansas was a territory. This was in 1856. But the Kansas-Nebraska Act just simply said, Kansas, once they declare statehood, ratify their constitution, they can declare either free state or slave state, in the same way with Nebraska. So the fear was, it's almost like in Southeast Asia, there was a thing called the domino theory. If we let one country fall, then another one will fall, and another one, like dominoes. So it was critical. And then the border wars were starting between Missouri and Kansas. It's the most compelling story you've never heard. But now Connecticut has woke up, and through the efforts of our chairman, our president, Michael Stubbs, they've published this story in a major Hartford magazine. And that just happened. So that's a game changer for us.
You know, one of the stories is everybody thinks when they hear about the Underground Railroad that it's actually underground. And then, you know, you have to kind of explain that history that it's not necessarily, it was underground because it was unheard of. It was just a pathway. The abolitionists were able to take slaves, and then the Mitchell household was one of the safe houses that they were able to house slaves in there until they were able to move to their next destination. For me, it's the view. A clear sky, you know, just being able to look towards the west and seeing Wamego and the river and the history, and just taking that deep breath of fresh air and listening to the sound of the grass and hearing the tunes of the grasshoppers and just, you know, all the nature sounds out there. To me, it's just a place of serenity.
Actually, this is a two-phase preservation. We're preserving the flora and fauna to the stage that it probably was when Captain Mitchell moved there in 1856.
So we recently were able to be named on the historic register. For us, it's a huge momentum and a historic moment that the board had been working on for many years, because that just brings more education to the state of Kansas and to the prairie lands, and just the history that, you know, needs to be continued to be told.
Your donation is not only about nuts and bolts, it's about the future, about maintaining this park so that future generations can take advantage of this, can learn by it, and tell others about it.